guys, it's Jasma, and today I'm going to show you 5 different cookies to make into a cookie box. A cookie box has never been more appropriate to make during this holiday season for your friends and family because it's so easy to make just a huge batch with lots of variety. It's also very simple to prepare ahead of time or even save for the future. And it's so convenient to just package up into little bags or little boxes and drop off for whoever you want in a really contactless way. In this cookie box, I'm going to show you 5 very unique cookie flavors so that there is something for everybody. I'll be making these decadent coconut cookies that are super light and buttery, these sophisticated coffee cookies for all my coffee and chocolate lovers, ginger cookies for those who prefer a chewier and fudgier cookie with a bit of spice, matcha crinkle cookies for those who prefer a lighter and cakier but still flavorful cookie, and finally these adorable lemon raspberry Linzer cookies that melt straight in your mouth. The holidays is usually a busy time, and tackling 5 different cookies all at once may seem a little bit intimidating or just unimaginable altogether, but trust me, it is doable. Since cookies have a lot of chilling required and different stages involved, it's even more convenient for you to plan out your time strategically and kind of space out each task. That's how I'm structuring this video for you guys, so hopefully seeing how I tackle 5 different batches of cookies simultaneously will make it a little bit easier for you. However, if you do want to just jump to the cookie that you're most interested in, here are the timestamps. Feel free to just skip ahead to it when it begins. Jumping into the cookie making, first I'll prepare the Linzer cookie dough. Here are the ingredients. They're also available in the description down below, but feel free to take a screenshot and follow along. In my opinion, these require the most time to chill in the fridge, which is why we're preparing it first, so it can have the longest time in the fridge while we work on the other cookies. To make it, I'm using my stand mixer with a paddle attachment. To it, I'm going to add my softened unsalted butter. Make sure this is really soft so that everything can mix together. Also pour in the white granulated sugar and begin mixing on medium-high speed until the butter becomes creamy. Add in your 2 egg yolks and continue mixing. Be sure to scrape down the sides every once in a while so all the ingredients are evenly mixed. Meanwhile, zest an entire lemon. I think lemon adds a really refreshing scent to the cookies, but you can use other flavorings as well. Add the zest along with a little bit of vanilla extract into your butter mixture and keep mixing. Once the butter looks really pale and has grown in volume, it is ready. This process should take about 3 minutes or so. Clean off the beater and scrape down the sides of the bowl once again, and now we can add in our dry ingredients. Here I have some almond meal along with all-purpose flour. Pour that into the stand mixer bowl and add a generous pinch of salt. Mix this on a very low speed just until everything comes together and there are no more dry bits. Don't overmix because you don't want any excess gluten to be forming. The dough is not going to be very sticky. In fact, it's actually a little crumbly due to the almond meal and the very little moisture we've used in this dough. So it's supposed to be this way, don't panic. I've transferred this onto a sheet of plastic wrap and just kneading it with my hands a little bit until it forms a cohesive piece. Then press it down, wrap it up with plastic wrap, and place into the fridge to chill while we move on to the next cookie. Now I'm making the Matcha Crinkle Cookie dough. These also require a little bit of time in the fridge, which is why I'm making it next. You don't need a machine for this one, so in a large bowl, add in some melted unsalted butter and white granulated sugar. Give it a whisk until combined. Then crack in 1 egg and mix it in as well. You don't really need to whip this up. As long as it's combined, we can set this aside. Then in a separate bowl, I'm combining all of my dry ingredients. That includes the matcha powder, baking powder, salt, cornstarch, and all-purpose flour. Then I'm going to grab a sifter and sift my dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. Make sure you don't skip this because matcha powder does have a lot of clumps inside of it, and you don't want to have clumps of matcha in your final cookie. Gently fold this in using a spatula. It will look a little bit dry at first, but it actually forms quite a sticky dough. Now that the dough is combined, I'm going to transfer it into a smaller container so it can go into the fridge to chill. For the last cookie that requires a little bit of chill time, I have my ginger cookies. In a bowl, pour in both your sugars to your melted unsalted butter, Crack in 1 egg and pour in the fancy molasses. The molasses adds the really nice and rich flavor to these ginger cookies and also a really chewy texture. You should be able to find this at almost any grocery store. Mix it together until all combined and smooth, and then set it aside. In a separate bowl, add all the leaveners and spices to your all-purpose flour. I'm using ground ginger today, but if you would like a little extra spice, you can replace the 3 teaspoons with freshly grated ginger. It has a much stronger flavor and it also creates little pockets of spice all over your cookies. I have my dry ingredients in the bowl. I'm just gonna quickly mix it all together. Then once again, add to the wet ingredients and fold until just combined. Then transfer into a smaller container just like the Matcha Crinkle Cookies and place into the fridge. Now that the 3 batches of cookies that require chilling are all in the fridge, I'm going to move on to my coconut cookies. At this point, you'll want to start preheating your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit because after this dough is done, we can bake off all of the cookies. In a stand mixer bowl, using a paddle attachment, start whipping up your butter and icing sugar until it becomes soft and fluffy. Crack an egg into a bowl and mix until loose. This recipe only uses half an egg, which is about 25 grams, so for precision's sake, I'm weighing it out so our cookies have the perfect consistency. Add this into your stand mixer and mix until the egg is fully incorporated into the butter and sugar mixture. Meanwhile, combine your all-purpose flour with the desiccated coconut and salt. Add to the butter, egg, and sugar mixture, and once again, mix until just combined. These cookies are piped, so I'm loading the dough into a piping bag which I fitted with a star tip. Pipe this out onto a baking tray lined with some reusable baking paper or parchment paper. Obviously do whatever design you would like, but I'm kind of doing a squiggly shape which I think looks really cool after it's baked. Before baking, place this into the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes so that the surface is slightly hardened. If the dough is cold, it won't spread nearly as much, so it holds the design and shape a lot better. Once chilled, place into your preheated oven for 9 to 10 minutes until the edges of the cookies just start to brown. Finally, for our 5th cookie, I'm going to prepare the coffee cookie dough. I've cleaned my bowl and paddle attachment from the coconut cookie, and now we can move on to the coffee cookie. The process is very similar as before, so once again, I have my softened unsalted butter, which I'm just going to add in. Also add in the icing sugar and start mixing on a low speed so the sugar doesn't fly everywhere, and once it's incorporated, turn it up to medium-high speed. Cream the butter and sugar together until it becomes fluffy, and then I'm going to add in the egg. This is the other half of the egg that we used from the coconut cookie from before. Since both recipes don't use a lot of liquid because you don't want it to spread too much, it's very convenient that we just use an entire egg in both recipes. Pour that in and start to mix. It will take some time before the egg is fully incorporated, so you'll need a little bit of patience. During this time, I'm preparing the coffee, so scoop some instant coffee granules into a bowl of hot water so that it can instantly dissolve. Mix that around until it is smooth, and we want to let this cool down while we combine the dry ingredients in a separate bowl. Add the coffee into your butter mixture, which should now be pale and voluminous. Mix this in until the coffee is fully incorporated. Make sure the coffee is cold or it will melt down your butter. Scrape down the sides, then add in the dry ingredients and mix until just combined. This cookie is also piped, so load the dough into a piping bag, which I have fitted with a slightly smaller star tip. Pipe this onto your baking tray. I'm doing it in a nice little circle, but again, do whatever you would like. Don't forget to chill this in the freezer for 5 to 10 minutes before sending it off into your preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 minutes. As that bakes, we can prepare the rest of the cookies. The ginger cookies are the most straightforward. Just scoop out the dough, roll it between your hands, place onto the baking tray, and flatten slightly. Do this with all of your dough, and before baking, sprinkle on a few drops of water onto your cookies just to help it crack a little bit more. Send this off into the oven as soon as the coffee cookies are done for 9 minutes. In a bowl, I combined some cornstarch with icing sugar, and this is going to be the coating for the Matcha Crinkle Cookies. So now that the dough is chilled, scooping it out with an ice cream scoop. Briefly roll this between your hands until it forms a smooth ball, and then coat it inside of the icing sugar cornstarch coating. These spread quite a bit when baking, so make sure you leave enough space between each one. As soon as the ginger cookies are done, place these into the oven for 9 to 10 minutes for them to become nice and crinkled. The Linzer cookie is the only one that requires rolling and cutting out, so here I have a cutting board and all of my equipment ready to go. I'm going to sprinkle the surface with some all-purpose flour. This does take a little bit of time for me, so I like to work with half of the dough while keeping the rest in the fridge so it doesn't become super soft. And I'll start rolling out the other half. This cookie dough has a lot less moisture inside of it compared to regular cookie dough, so it's a lot less sticky, which means that when you're rolling it out, it can crack a little bit easier and end up being crumbly if you overwork it and add a lot of flour to it. Now, the reason why I did not add a ton of moisture inside of this dough is because I want the end result to be a really flaky and buttery cookie that has kind of a shortbread texture, and this is exactly what that achieves. Once this cookie is baked, it melts straight in your mouth, and that's the reason why I like it so much, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to work with. So just roll it out slowly. And if you do end up cracking your dough and you see tears inside of it, you can either just pinch it back together with your fingers or just work around it and then put all of the scraps together later on and do it all over again. Since these cookies are going to be sandwiched, I like to roll out the dough quite thin because keep in mind the final result is going to be twice as thick. Once it's an even layer of dough, cut out your cookies. I have a variety of different cookie cutters here. For each sandwich, you want a cookie on the bottom that is complete and a one on top that has a little hole to reveal the jam. So just use a smaller cookie cutter to create that hole. These cookies don't really spread that much in the oven, so it's okay to lay them closer to each other on the baking tray. Make sure you keep them in the fridge until you're ready to bake it so the dough stays cold. Once the matcha cookies are done, place these into the oven for 9 to 11 minutes. The bake time will vary depending on the size and thickness of your cookies. Since 5 batches of cookies is quite a lot for one household, even if you are giving it away, you can choose to save the cookie dough to bake for later. This is something that I like to do quite often during the holiday season because then you can save a little bit for yourself, or you can just choose to bake them off fresh whenever you would like. To save the cookie dough, for the ginger cookie and the matcha cookie, it's quite simple. Just scoop them out using an ice cream scoop as if you were baking it, but then place it onto a baking tray and put it off into the freezer instead. For the coconut cookies, I like to pipe them out into the way that you're going to bake it. Leave a little bit of space in between each one so that nothing sticks to each other. And for the Linzer cookies, I like to cut them out and have them ready to go so you don't need to do extra work before you want to bake it. Before you bake these cookies, make sure to let them thaw at room temperature until it's nice and soft again, and these will bake off in the oven and taste just as well as if you make them right away. Once the cookies are baked and out of the oven onto cooling racks and cooling, we're almost there. There are just a few cookies that require a little bit of assembling or decorating. Since the coconut cookies were baked first, they are also the first to cool, which was why I'm going to decorate them first as well. I melted down some white chocolate and thinned it out using coconut oil, and just drizzle this onto a corner of the cookies. Before the chocolate completely cools, I like to sprinkle on some more desiccated coconut and just gently tap your wrist while holding the cookies to shake off any excess. Onto the coffee cookies because they were baked second, which means they're also second to cool. I melted down some dark chocolate and also thinned it out with coconut oil. Dip half of the cookie into this chocolate and shake off any excess, and then before this chocolate completely cools, sprinkle on some chopped pistachios. The ginger cookie and matcha cookies don't require any final touches, which leaves us with the Linzer cookies. To assemble the Linzer cookies, I like to dust some icing sugar onto the top cookie. You can add as much or as little as you would like. Place a small dollop of jam on the bottom cookie. I'm using raspberry jam here. Spread this out slightly, but leave enough space from the edges. Then put the dusted cookie on top to finish off the sandwich. The 5 batches of cookies are now ready. If you don't plan on sharing this with anyone, which is totally understandable, go ahead and pour yourself a glass of milk and enjoy these because you just made 5 batches of cookies. But if you do want to share this with people, it is time to assemble into the cookie box. So just choose whatever nice box you have, or if you want to give these away in smaller quantities, small bags would also work really well. I hope this video inspires you to assemble your own cookie box, but also make baking 5 batches of cookies simultaneously something that is approachable. I think working strategically in the kitchen is super important, but it's not talked nearly enough on the internet, or at least from what I've seen. So I hope that an emphasis on that and showing you how I like to plan out my time is something that is useful. If you make any of these cookies, make sure to tag me on Instagram. I love seeing all of your creations, and I hope you and your friends and family enjoy these delicious little treats. Happy holidays, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!